If Iran kills U.S. troops, the blame rests solely on the U.S. and Israel. White House officials reportedly want Israel to provoke Iran into attacking U.S. military bases in the region because it will make Americans more willing to go to war. Politico reports, senior advisors to President Donald Trump would prefer Israel strike Iran before the United States launches an assault on the country, according to two people familiar with ongoing discussions. The Trump administration officials are privately arguing that an Israeli attack would trigger Iran to retaliate, helping to muster support from American voters for a U.S. strike. The calculus is a political one, that more Americans would stomach a war with Iran if the United States or an ally were attacked first. Recent polling shows that Americans, and Republicans in particular, support regime change in Iran, but are unwilling to risk any U.S. casualties to achieve it. That means Trump's team is considering the optics of how an attack is conducted, in addition to other justifications, such as Iran's nuclear program. End quote. An anonymous White House source told Politico, quote, "There's thinking in and around the administration that the politics are a lot better if the Israelis go first and alone, and the Iranians retaliate against us and give us more reason to take action." End quote. So, according to this report, the plan is to let Israel initiate the war, draw out an aggressive Iranian response against Israel and U.S. military assets in the area, and then let the state media saturate American airwaves with photographs of slain U.S. soldiers so that Americans will support a new war in the Middle East. As a plan to drum up domestic support for war, this would probably work. Israel would certainly be all too happy to initiate another war. The U.S. military would certainly be all too happy to drum up support for American retaliation. And many Americans, God bless them, would be dumb enough to swallow it. We all saw how easily the American public can be persuaded to sign off on any U.S. military operation after 9/11. We know the drill. Americans get killed, the imperial propaganda machine kicks into hyperdrive, and then all of a sudden you've got every war plan and domestic surveillance agenda ever dreamed up by Washington's nastiest swamp monsters being advanced at breakneck pace. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is already laying the groundwork for this narrative push, literally doing the "look how close they put their country to our military bases" meme during a press conference on Wednesday. Rubio said, "Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region, and all of our bases in the UAE, in Qatar, in Bahrain. And they also possess naval assets that threaten shipping and try to threaten the U.S. Navy. So I want everybody to understand that, and beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they choose to do so." They're already blatantly lying to the American public about this thing. In addition to the propaganda narratives we discussed recently, like Steve Witkoff claiming Iran is probably a week away from having the materials necessary to make a nuclear bomb, and the New York Post publishing evidence-free atrocity propaganda about Iran cutting out the reproductive organs of female protesters, President Trump falsely claimed during his State of the Union address on Tuesday that Iran refuses to say it will never develop a nuclear weapon. Trump said during his speech before Congress that, "We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words, 'We will never have a nuclear weapon.'" As Anti-War's Dave DeCamp pointed out, Iran has been explicitly saying they will never develop a nuclear weapon this entire time, and they literally said it again on the day of Trump's speech. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi tweeted on Tuesday that, quote, "Our fundamental convictions are crystal clear. Iran will under no circumstances ever develop a nuclear weapon," end quote. Now, whether or not you believe Iran's claims that it has no intention of developing nuclear weapons, it is an indisputable fact that Trump and his speechwriters brazenly lied to the American public about Iran refusing to say the words, "We will never develop a nuclear weapon." The fact that they would lie so blatantly about something so significant means they'll lie about anything, and nothing these people tell us about Iran and its activities can be trusted. Trump made other evidence-free claims in the same speech, as DeCamp explains. Quote, Trump also said that Iran was working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America, a claim that lacks any evidence, and repeated that 32,000 people were killed in the recent protests, an inflated number that lacks real sourcing and is far beyond the 3,317 acknowledged by the Iranian government. End quote. So let's be very clear here. If any U.S. troops are killed by Iranian missiles, the U.S. and Israel are solely to blame for this. If any Israelis are killed by Iranian missiles, the U.S. and Israel are solely to blame for this, not Iran. Iran didn't surround itself with U.S. military bases. Iran didn't tear up the Obama nuclear deal. Iran isn't flooding the region with a quantity of U.S. war machinery you never see unless Washington plans on launching an attack. The U.S. did these things. The U.S. is the one who bombed Iran's energy infrastructure last June. The U.S. is the one who is openly admitting that it deliberately crushed the Iranian economy with the goal of inciting a violent uprising. The U.S. is the one whose National Endowment for Democracy smuggled Starlink terminals into Iran to help facilitate domestic unrest. If any foreign government had been doing these things to the United States, the U.S. would have wiped them off the face of the earth a long time ago. Iran has been demonstrating superhuman forbearance in the midst of extremely aggressive provocations by Israel and the United States. If Tehran calculates that it can no longer sustain its policy of restraint and needs to push back to protect itself from an existential threat, then the blame for this will not rest on Iran. It will rest solely and entirely on the United States and Israel. If any U.S. troops die in the upcoming standoff, it will be Washington and Tel Aviv who killed them.